Hi, everyone. So, in the whole discussion about, who would the Republican nominee be if Trump decides to not run, which probably won't happen. He probably will run, but, hypothetically speaking. So, obviously, we all know the front runner. The first person that comes to mind is Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, currently. Um, and he's even beating Trump in some straw polls and stuff like that. And another person that comes up pretty frequently is Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia. And I'm sure a lot of us probably already know the story. The whole drama, how he flipped a Biden plus 10 state, just barely safe, but and he won the state by 2 points in the governor election in in 2021. Um, But and so a lot of people, I guess understandably, they have been saying that maybe he should be the nominee. And I heard someone say, if it were Youngkin versus Biden, Youngkin would be the person to flip Minnesota and end its, the longest Democrat voting streak in history, because he has all that suburban appeal. He's a perfect suburban candidate. And he also got the working class turnout in rural Virginia. But that is just, I am going to offer my opinion on why this is just not true. And this is just pretty wishful thinking just to say that Youngkin, who's good on a state level, definitely. He was definitely the best, a great candidate for Virginia, but on a national level, I don't believe so, and I'm going to show you why. It's not just because Virginia votes differently on a national level than they do on the state level, as many states do, but the primary reason for it is Terry McAuliffe tried to attack him for being Trump, but the very fact is, in Virginia, yeah, that will help him because it doesn't work. He's not really Trump, but on a national level, that's going to actually hurt him. Because on a national level, you have to be Trump in, the Rust Belts. People forget that he's not a populist. He's just somewhat moderately socially conservative. What kind of populist appeal does he have? What kind of populist policies? He wasn't really much about economics, except, I don't know, maybe cutting taxes, grocery taxes. But how is that going to resonate with the workers? And just watch this. I think this alone is going to kill him.
I'm going to protect right to work because if we lose right to work, it's going to be the death knell for Virginia business, and my opponent is going to get rid of it.
Yeah,
I'm going to protect.
Do you really believe somebody who has who goes around saying that on a national stage? Do you really believe that he's going to do well in the Rust Belt, where you need working class voters, to win to even have a shot at winning in these states? He didn't need that in Virginia because Virginia, there's not that many workers and white working class particular people. Because just look here, this is the Washington Examiner. I saw here. Apparently, Virginia is a right to work state. It's been there since 1947. So what this literally means is you are not depending on how you phrase it, the right would say you're not forced to join. You're protected from being forced to join a union. The left would say, well, okay, if you're not forced to join a union, then you can't pay, so you don't have to pay the dues, but you still benefit from the the stuff that the union gets for you, that better working conditions, and you can freeload off of it. And it's not just that, but it will just effectively destroy the union. Especially, I'm not going to go into my opinion of it, but yeah, I don't think this is going to help him in like work places where you need workers to win. Virginia isn't one of those places because look here. According to a poll from last year, two-thirds of Virginians think the state should maintain right to work, including a majority of Democrats and independents. So what this tells me is, yeah, the type of, even though Virginia is such a Democrat state nowadays, it's like these types of Democrats are different than the Democrats in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt, because those types of Democrats, those are, very populist. Those are workers. Those are working class people. And in Virginia, since even most Democrats like right to work, support right to work, they're probably not working class people. They're probably rich white liberals, just like in California, and my home state of Illinois. Yeah, I live among them. So, yeah. So what else was I gonna say? So yeah, Youngkin supports right to work. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, like if like I know as unpopular as Biden is, it's like imagine all he has to do is play that in all of the Rust Belt states, every single one of them, or even. I think that alone, would be enough to win, just enough for Biden to pull off a victory in the Rust Belt. Because, I guess on a national stage, if it were Youngkin versus Biden in 2024, I see Youngkin winning back Arizona and Georgia easily. He's a perfect candidate to appeal to like suburban environments. And he's a traditional Republican. He's not a populist, so they definitely like that a lot more. Nevada, I don't know. Maybe it would get closer just because of the national environment. But the fact is, Youngkin doesn't do he didn't do what he actually did worse with Hispanics and like minorities than even Trump. I mean, and Trump did very well with them, but. So Youngkin doesn't have minority appeal, which is the rare, I usually say Nevada is guaranteed to vote to the right of Arizona, but that's only if it's Trump. If it's someone like Youngkin or DeSantis, I don't know if it would be I don't think it would be like that. What else would change? I think, he's got great suburban appeal. I think Youngkin could actually flip Nebraska's second back from, and deny Biden that seat. But I think because Youngkin doesn't have populist appeal, I think Maine's second would also flip back to the Democrats. I don't see him being able to pull off a victory in any of these Rust Belt states. I actually think Wisconsin would actually be more left than Pennsylvania, because Wisconsin, we talked about this before, it's not the most conservative state. It's the most populist state. With Youngkin lacking the populism, Wisconsin wouldn't vote for him any more than Pennsylvania. In fact, I think if there's any of these states that he has any shot in, it would maybe be Pennsylvania. I mean, because Pennsylvania, it has not just one but two urban centers and the suburbs. So it's Wisconsin just has Milwaukee as its major city. Pennsylvania has Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, the two P's. PP. So if there's one of them, it would be Pennsylvania. But even so, and also because of geographical proximity to Virginia as well. But I don't think that I still don't see him pulling off a victory in any of the Rust Belt states. I even think Iowa, Ohio could get closer. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if he lost Iowa and Ohio. But I'm kind of doubt that it would happen just because Biden's so disapproved of in these states, especially Iowa. But yeah, I think they would definitely get closer because he's not Trump. On the other, I think maybe DeSantis might be able to pull off a win maybe Youngkin would pull off a win in New Hampshire. The state's pretty libertarian. He's not. He's also not that socially conservative. You know, DeSantis is a lot more socially conservative, so DeSantis would have a harder time winning New Hampshire than Youngkin would. So I'm just going to put New Hampshire as a complete toss-up. But and then what else? You know, Nevada. I'll put as a complete toss-up too. I don't know which way it would go because it's trending right heavily, but he also wouldn't do that well with Hispanics. And honestly, even like, I feel like, you know, even though Virginia is so safe on a federal level, he might be able to flip Virginia. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, just because he is the right type of, you know, the right type of Republican. You know, Virginia loves, you know, they loved Romney. They loved, you know, and you know, with the poll with the right to work, it really suggests, you know, these are like very moderate Democrats. These are like white, you know, suburbanites, you know, Democrats. These aren't like the working class in the Rust Belt. But yeah, but even Virginia, you know, would be pretty hard to win. You know, that's a Biden plus 10 state. So I don't know. Maybe it would be like a tilt margin. So yeah, I don't know if he'd really, again, without the Rust Belt, you know, his wins would be much narrower. If he were to eke out a win, he'd eke out a win in New Hampshire and Nevada, which would get him over the top. You know, a razor thin margin, 272 to 266, which is you know. So I just don't see, you know, Youngkin being able to eke out a win in the Rust Belt state, which is crucial. You know, given his anti-union rhetoric, you know, and maybe he can try to like distance himself from. Maybe he can say on a state level, as a, you know, this is what Mark Kirk, the senator from my home state of Illinois, said before he was voted out. But he said, when I was a representative for my district, I would support offshore oil rigs. But now that I'm running to be a senator, a representative for the whole state, I'm going to be against like offshore drilling or whatever it was. You know, maybe Youngkin could try. He needs to at least attempt to try that, to distance himself from the anti-union stuff on it, if he wants to run on a national stage. But honestly, I don't think it's gonna work. Again, just fucking play this, you know, in Wisconsin and see, you know, just watch the fireworks. Like that's gonna be a recipe for disaster. Like I don't think it's gonna work, even if he tries to distance himself. It's like people remember that shit. You know, work never forgets. What else? You know, like maybe a few might, you know, just because of how like Biden's unpopularity, they might go the other way, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would be enough, even with like the high suburban turnouts. You must remember Bush, you know, came very close to winning all these states, but he never pierced that margin. He still came up, you know, just short, even by the skin of his teeth. But you know, nearly enough isn't nearly enough. You know, so yeah, on national level, you know, I therefore think that running Youngkin 2024 for president is just way overrated, and his electoral chances, you know, are way overestimated. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe he might be a good like vice presidential pick. Well, no, I know. I don't think he'd be a good vice president, a VP pick either, because, you know, if he were Trump's VP, he'd still, you know, that would hurt him in these Rust Belt states. You know, maybe not enough to lose them if it's Trump, but, you know, the history of anti-union rhetoric certainly won't help him. So definitely don't pick Youngkin as your running mate. I mean, sure he's better than like Ted Cruz or something, but like, you know, I mean, there's so many better people. DeSantis, pick Kari Lake, pick Josh Hawley, Joni Ernst, Kim Reynolds. I don't know. His current pick is Elise Stefanik, who's an awful pick in my opinion. So who knows? I think Youngkin would be even worse than Stefanik as like a electoral asset, honestly. Just because, like, I mean, well, who knows? Maybe Stefanik also has anti-union shit up her sleeves, which would be pretty bad. What else? I remember there was something else I was trying to say. I just keep forgetting. What? Right to work. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's it. I guess just don't. Yeah, like Youngkin's the perfect person to run in Virginia or Georgia or Arizona, but not. And honestly, Illinois probably. If we, I actually voted in the primary for Jesse Sullivan, who's sort of like a pseudo like Youngkin-esque person. Just because I think like electorally in Illinois, you probably do need to be like a sort of pseudo rhino like Glenn Youngkin to win. Have any chance in Illinois, but that didn't happen. We said we have Darren Bailey, who's unfortunately going to lose, but whatever. Like, yeah, but I think Youngkin is going to the state level, not on the federal level. And in general, I remember what I was going to say. In Pennsylvania, the Republican governor nominee is Doug Mastriano. And he actually suffers from kind of the same setback, which is that he has a very anti-union record, and he really couldn't set the record straight. And that's actually why the Pennsylvania Police Union or whatever it was, they said they endorsed Dr. Oz for which is the Republican nominee for the Senate. But then they endorsed Josh Shapiro, the Democrat nominee for the governor of Pennsylvania. So it's like a cross party endorsement, and it all boils down to unions. In the end, you cannot win the Rust Belt without unions. That's how Trump won in 2016. Trump was very pro-union. And Hillary Clinton was the first Democrat who just distanced herself completely from unions, and this destroyed her. And then also Tim Kaine too in Virginia. Tim Kaine, he was very pro right to work, and that certainly, yeah. If you want more evidence that being pro right to work would hurt you in the Rust Belt, just look at 2016. And yeah, and thus Doug Mastriano, I feel like it might be too late for him at this point, but he really needs to get his act together. He needs to. You need to be pro-union to win in Pennsylvania and the Rust Belt. And unfortunately, Doug Mastriano doesn't have that. So, which means is he really even a populist then? Or is he just another, Romney rhino who just happens to have the endorsement of Trump? Trump makes a lot of stupid-ass endorsements anyway. Really, you think this guy's a fighter when he endorses people like Mike Crapo or Lindsey Graham or Mitch McConnell or whoever, or John McCain, I don't know, on and on, or Katie Britt in Alabama. Really, that's such a populist move, such a fighter move. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just saying that the Republican Party of the future, you really need to start being pro-union. You need to turn it on its head, and once you start being pro-union, the Democrats will go the other way, which they'll shoot themselves in the foot. That's, I think this is all tying in together with the whole, the second party switch. The Republicans are going to become the party that's economically left and socially right, and the Democrats are going to become the party that's economically right and socially left, which is going to destroy the Democratic Party, because There's very few people that are actually economically right and socially left. I mean, don't get me wrong. I live amongst a lot of them. I live in Illinois. There's a lot of them. A lot of this type of people in like the north suburbs of Chicago and Lake County in particular. And I even volunteered a long time ago to help a rhino politician known as Bob Dole, who was exactly this type of socially liberal, fiscally conservative type candidate. A type of candidate that I now think is way overrated, but that was 2014, so it was a different story. So yeah, yeah. The Republican Party needs to be more pro-union. Youngkin does not have that record. Mastriano does not have that record. And I think you need to evaluate a lot of the other candidates in all of these other states for their unionness. Supporting rhetoric like right to work is not going to help you. You will be shooting yourself in the foot, and you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you support Glenn Youngkin to be the Republican nominee. So, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this piece of commentary. If you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.